Hello, how you doing?
Not too bad. How's things with you?
Not too bad, all right. What are we talking about today?
Um, Price comparison websites, I think.
Oh, one
Might
of
be a
my
good
favorite
idea.
topics. I use them a lot. What do you think of price comparison websites?
I think they have their uses, but I think that you have to be mindful of what they're being published as is not necessarily what you need.
Huh? What do you mean by that?
Well, they were originally published, or should I say, they were originally put out there, and we were told that they were to give us the cheapest price. But that's not necessarily the case. They're just the fastest way to get through a number of insurance companies to get a reasonable deal.
Totally agree. It's that, and I guess it's convenient as well. But gone are the days. I remember back in the days, my parents used to go to the high street and find a local insurance broker, and they would get their insurance from, a bloke in a corner shop, some kind of, small family-run business. Also remember a case where in our town especially, uh, one of the main insurance brokers was a one-man band. I cannot remember his name now, but it turned out that the police had investigated him after somebody tried to make a claim. And the insurance company said, "Oh, you don't have a policy with us." And when police investigated, it turned out that he'd been keeping people's money and not actually giving them false certificates, but not buying the insurance for them. So that was a bit of a shocker. And I
But
guess that's taken away, that issue's now disappeared because, you've got a regulated price comparison websites, and they will do their due diligence with the companies that they put on their platform.
you lived at number 73, didn't you?
I've all heard of comparison sites, and they can be used to compare the prices of all kinds of things. Primarily, I use mine for car insurance, home insurance. Um, and they all promise to get you a good deal and it's just right for you and save money for you as well. But it for me, it comes down to a couple of things really. I mean, the first thing it comes down to me for is convenience. I'll put my details in once, and then every year I can just hit refresh, get the latest car insurance quote, get the latest home insurance quote, have a look at the cheapest price. They'll automatically email you the cheapest quote into your inbox anyway. Um, I typically have would recommend to everybody have three at least. So I've got Go Compare, I've got Money Super, and I've got Compare the Market. Don't let that put you off because my information's already been in there and it's been embedded.
Well, there are others out there. I mean, there is
Yeah,
confused.com,
yeah,
there is USwitch. You can probably name a few others, but they seem to
yeah.
be
People have
running.
their preferences, but I've been using these three companies for years, and I've kind of stuck with it. Obviously, when you use it, you put your data in. They will do the hard work of finding you the best price. They'll give you a list. You can easily compare what each company is offering you as part of their service, especially when it comes to car insurance, courtesy car, windscreen, breakdown, etc. So that's all included. Um, one of the positives is you may come across a company that you've never heard of before. You know, I think a couple of years ago, Sheila's Wheels was quite new. I didn't realise men. I think I
They
managed.
discriminate against men.
Yeah, I managed. I'm sure I got an insurance quote through them, or unless I got one for my wife. She got a pretty good price on that. Um, I suppose it's a quick way to find yourself a good deal, save yourself some money. Uh,
There is actually
think
there is actually a fallacy that exists, and had been allowed to be taken on board for women to have separate insurance companies, where women were getting cheaper car insurance. and that was to do with the fact that this idea that men are involved in more car accidents than women. Actually, that is a fallacy. The truth is, women are actually involved in more car accidents than men. The difference being is that men are often involved in more expensive car accidents than women. Women have more bumps and prangs, which lead to less expensive work being done, whereas men are more likely, if they are involved in car accidents, to
Be
have
more
major
severe.
damage or have their car written off. But to say that men are involved in more accidents is a lie. Now, as a result of that, um, it was taken to court over the issue of equality, and what they actually decided to do was not lower the price of men's car insurance, but just level up women's. Apparently, so they say. But in this current climate in the world, in certainly in the Western world, I'd be reluctant to believe that. So if you're a man looking for car insurance, I would avoid um, insurers that are focused at women, because I myself have applied for car insurance with Sheilah's Wheels and found it to be quite a bit more expensive than insurers that don't give any preference.
All okay. So what do we got? We've got you can save money. They're convenient.
You can
Uh,
save money, it's true, but you don't always save money. It's more to do with convenience. I mean, there was a court case, I believe, in 2008, 2019, um, which was to do with the fact that the price comparison sites broke UK law by claiming that their top three um, insurers that came up on searches were the cheapest, but actually they weren't. It was more to do with the fact that they were the insurers that would give the price comparison site the highest fee for bringing in customers if you took up your offer there. So it's just something that you have to be aware of, that you're not necessarily going to get the best deal, but it does take a lot of the hassle out of phoning individual insurers. But there again, there are those insurers such as Direct Line that won't use price comparison websites, and they claim to be cheaper. I mean that is to be seen when you actually phone them and give them your personal details, or whether you decide to phone them or not. But obviously, it's different for everybody. There are a large number of factors like your postcode, your job status, the kind of work that you do, how much you earn. Is your car stored in a garage or on a driveway on the road? What about during the daytime? Is it on the side of the road? Is it in a secure car park? All of these things they like to take into account so that they frankly can put the price up.
so obviously, you've got a wider choice through price comparison websites. I think I've mentioned plenty of times have three different ones because sometimes you'll have different providers coming up as so it's always worth having one or two so you can do a comparison between the comparison websites so you can ensure you're getting the best price. I have three, so and then I'll pick the cheapest quote. Obviously there's some cost of doing this as well. There are fees, um, so obviously they're out there to make money, so they might be charging a fee to the companies listed on their websites. So it may be a case that if you take the cheapest quote and then ring the company direct and say, look, I'm a new customer, what price can you give me payment wise? Well, you might be able to save yourself a few bob that way. I've not tried this personally, but it's something I think people need to have a look at. Um, there's
That
also the case that not every company out there, like an insurance provider, like Direct Line, they're not on there. Um, Do you remember in the early days of price comparison websites, you used to have to trawl through the internet and put your details into different insurance providers, and then go through it individually, which was a nightmare. And that was probably the last time I did this with them. Hastings Direct, for example, is one of them. And
They're a good
Direct,
insurer.
so you're sitting there trawling through, adding the details in manually each time, which is a bit of a nightmare. So again, there is a possibility that if you try a different company that's not on price comparison website, you could still save money. How much, I can't tell you. I mean, I'm going to say it could be 10 quid, it could be 5 quid, it could be 15 quid.
I would say from my personal experience that you mentioned Hastings Direct, and I would say that
They are on price comparison website.
but that I've had a good experience with them, and they have 3 tiers. They have basic, they have standard, and they have premium cover, and sometimes there's very little in it. And it brings me to an important point that when you put your details in, and your 3 top ones come up, you do need to check through what it covers and what it doesn't, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, or whatever other form of insurance that is actually there. Say whether they replace your locks, do they cover flooding on your car insurance, you know, do they give you a courtesy car, do they offer legal cover? And these things can be important to you and may not, but may not. But when you check those prices, there may not be an awful lot of difference in the price. But then when you check what they offer, you can find a great difference in what that cover offers. So it's best to
Yeah, I
check
mean, it's down
check
to
some
you.
details.
It's down to you to check to make sure you're getting what you need.
Or simply going for number one because it's 50 quid cheaper doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting the best deal overall.
Of course, I totally agree with you. And I have wondered that a few times, thinking, okay, if I need to speak to this company, I need to make a claim, it's something I may have not heard of, but it's unique to the price comparison website. Um, Thankfully, I've only had been in that uh, 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 situation once, and I can't remember the company now, but they were pretty good in terms of sorting out payment for home
I
insurance.
thought you were going to say they were shocking there.
The downside of it is it's impersonal. It's all automated, so you're pressing buttons. If there is a question that you have or something that you're unsure of, then you've got to ring through the general inquiry line for this company and take it from there. So it's impersonal from my perspective. Um, for things like home insurance, I think it's ideal. I think it's brilliant for car insurance. I think it's great as well. I've never had any issues personally. If somebody they're doing something that's quite complicated, for example, like your life insurance or some kind of product that you want to buy or assurance, life assurance, and I think
Don't get me on the subject of life insurance.
it's always worth speaking to someone about rather than doing that through a price comparison website because it's quite personal to your needs. So it's always best to.
Life insurance as a product is actually not that difficult a product, but you do have to read the small print, and that's where it might be best that you do deeper research and don't use a price comparison website, because you have wonderful situations with people like Sun Life where you'll give apparently you'll give a set time, so you'll be dead by the time you're 65, 70, and that's where it's due to pay out. But if you live and you're now 73, 74 years old, you will still be paying the premium, but you won't get any more money. And if you stop paying that premium, they'll cancel your policy. So
I guess
they're,
that's
they're a
why it's
little.
always worth. That's why it's always worth. If you have any, you're unsure about anything, speak to somebody. One other thing, there's always local whole of market brokers, for example, with mortgages. So it'd
Yes.
be worthwhile rather than going for a comparison website, just making an appointment with somebody and just having a chat and finding out what your options are. They might be able to come up with a deal for you based upon your circumstances after you've spoken to them than just filling in your details on a website because it's not very interactive. They'll ask you certain questions, you give them the answer, but there's, if you want to have a conversation about something, so oh, have you thought about X or Y? If you're actually talking to someone, they'll maybe able to come up with something that's more suitable for your needs.
Well, in my personal experience of mortgage brokers, you'll have a meeting with them and they'll ask for your criteria and your details. And they'll also go with you a few scenarios that can allow you to save money or perhaps even get a cheaper mortgage. Like how much deposit you put down can change the overall value of your mortgage and the monthly payments. So there are a few important things that can be helpful. I mean, even where some insurers, we know that they ask for life insurance, and there's also medical insurance, things like that they might ask for, but that they will be able to do based upon your details and the questions that they're experienced to ask you, because they are a qualified mortgage broker. They will then go to the marketplace and look over 20, 30, 40 different mortgage lenders and find a couple that, or 3 or 4 that are most appropriate to you. And the wonderful thing about that is that all that work has been done for you, but with your input and your needs taken into account, unlike with price comparison sites, and you didn't pay for it. Those fees for that person's services comes from the lender that you actually take your mortgage out with, which is an important. But that's a subject that's a subject for another day that suddenly has become just into one video. But there we go.
Something I need to mention is that if you do buy through a price comparison website, they will typically know when your renewals due, because they'll start emailing you a month or two in advance saying your home insurance is due to expire. So it's a good reminder service for people who might take their insurance out, put the papers in a drawer, and then forget all about it, only to realise that it's auto renewed 12 months later at a much higher price.
Yeah, so sometimes 50, 60, 70 pounds.
And a tip.
And they don't care.
Oh, they won't care.
But the most amazing part.
Home insurance was 96 quid this year. To renew was 135 pounds. I've not made any claims or anything for about 8 or 9 years, I think, maybe even more than that. So yeah, you've got to stay on top of these things.
Well, you kind of have to look at the mortgage company. Sorry, not the mortgage companies, the insurers as opportunists, because you won't make a claim. You've got 5, 6 years no claims bonus, or in your case, it will be 10 years this year, and then they'll just slap another 60 quid on, hoping that you'll let it tick over, and then they get free money. And of course, the best part about
you need to manage that. I don't blame them for that. It's a business, so they've drawn you in with a decent offer. And if someone's not paying attention, they have the right to charge you more money, because they need to recoup that back, because I guess they've lost money to attract new customers. And if it goes up a little bit, it's more of a realistic price. But it's down to you as the consumer to make sure that you cancel your service and go off and get a better deal elsewhere.
Although they do say that they will tell you that that's the best deal we can offer you for the year, and you say, well now I'm going to cancel, and then suddenly they come up with a new price.
Well, what I tend to do is before the contract expires, I ring up a month in advance and say, okay, I want to cancel my service, and then they ask you, why do you want to cancel? What is the reason for cancelling? All I say is no reason. I've got no reason. Just cancel it, please. They don't ask you any more questions. They'll just go ahead and do the cancellation. Before that, I used to say, well, I found a better deal elsewhere. And then once you tell them that, they've got something to latch onto and try and convince you to stay with them.
You've opened the door, haven't you?
But it's not the best deal possible.
No.
So I cancel. I'll wait 2 or 3 days. The phone will ring, as my phone rang when I cancelled my broadband using this technique. Uh, we understand you're cancelling. What can we do to keep you? And I said, look, I want a better deal because I can see that the new deal is comes with a 75 quid voucher. And the guy said, okay, if I give you an £8 discount, so you're £27, you're currently paying for your broadband, bring it down to 19 quid, and we'll increase it from 50 megabytes to 200 megabytes, will you stay? And I'm like, hell yeah, sign me up.
So you did well.
That worked really well. So it's a good way to do it. But it's down to you. I mean, I've saved 8 quid. You work that out over a year or 18 months, it can work out to be a huge chunk of change that's in your pocket rather than with them. But because I'm an existing customer, it's just easy for them to continue my contract, keep it going, rather than advertising to attract new customers and set me up and get the service up and running, etc. So
In that vein, though, in that vein, if you're say you've got Sky TV or you've got Virgin Media, and or you and it's or you've got broadband or you've got both, and the package on Sky goes up every year. In fact,
well,
actually, to
yeah.
be honest, it goes up every month. Um, if you've got the full package, um, which many people have complained about over the years. And when your renewal for your, say, your Sky Television or for your Virgin Media broadband comes up, and it's more expensive, the other technique to use is when you've got that email, that letter that says, you're coming up for renewal, price is going to go up. At that point is when you then go back to the price comparison website, or you go to the main providers in your local area, because unfortunately not all providers are available in your local area. You can go and get a couple of quotes, and then you can then go back to the retentions. You can then go back to your company and say, I've got this letter, I'm not happy about the price going up, I want to cancel. And like in the case of Sky, they'll send you to their retentions department, where they're only too happy to negotiate with you, although not always as well as you would like.
I found that you won't get the best deal at that point. You'll only get it once you've cancelled the service and they've rung you back. Because if you ring them up and say, I want a better price, I've done this. Okay, what price have you got? Right, I've got 90 quid. Oh, I'm really sorry, I can't match that price. And then you end up cancelling anyway. So just cancel, go through the process. I rang Halifax up, I've cancelled today. All right. And he asked me, what reason? I'll just go, look, I've got no reason. Just don't want to renew it, please cancel. At that point, it's cancelled. I don't think they're going to ring me up to offer me a better deal, or I'm not really interested. I'm going to
Actually,
go to the price comparison site and I'm going to, just get the best price. I probably think at this point I could get 90 quid for my home insurance. I haven't made any claims in a long time. What do you think of the fact that I've heard this, I don't know whether it's true or not, that at certain times of the month, the prices are cheaper, like towards the end of the month, because they're trying to get as much business in, to do the deals so they have a bumper month in sales. So perhaps in the last couple of days of the month, you get better pricing. I don't know. I've heard this recently,
um,
but I don't know whether that's true or not.
there is actually some truth in it, but it's not monthly though. But
Is it?
just
Because I found sometimes I've gone off, got a quote, it's a really good price. Then I think, oh, I'm going to wait a week or two, try it again, and it's gone up. So it's
um,
a strange one.
there are two parts to this, but just in response to what you said, when I then phone after I've got my new quotes and I phone the retention, I phone them to cancel, and they send me to the retention department. I say I just want to cancel, and if they say why, well, I've got a better deal, so I'm already leaving. I find that I get somewhere with that, but in answer to your question about about, you could call it the ebb and the flow of insurance prices. Um, January is the worst time. January, February is the worst time to actually get insurance. And then later in the year, so sort of towards the end of March, April, May, and then the price goes up again, and then it comes down again. But
Why does that happen? You know.
I think it's to do with when. Well, I think they claim that it's to do with when people actually are most likely to for their renewal to come up. So
Okay.
there's like 3 points in the year when that happens. But even more interestingly, on a much smaller scale, the best time to actually look for an insurance quote is very late at night or very early in the morning, because after 8 o'clock in the morning, the price goes up. So if you're looking at the right points in the year, well, it's because less, but it's also to do with the flow of traffic apparently. So if most people are going to be going on there just before work, so say like 7 in the morning till 9, and then through the day, and then after about 11 o'clock at night, and I have actually found this myself to be true, that in the middle of the night it is cheaper. You can get a cheaper quote. But the thing there is something that you have to be careful of, and that is that if you do a lot of quotes for a lot of different vehicles, say if you're going for car insurance, your insurance starts to level out. It starts to get more expensive.
Yeah. I found that as well. So yeah, I guess that they know what you're up to, and they know when you're coming up, so they can afford to bump up the prices. So I don't know whether that's true or not, but I guess anecdotally, I've had a similar experience.
You can actually look this up. There are websites that will actually tell you the right points of the year to actually have a look, and it has been proven to some extent to be true.
But you know what? Sometimes you can't help it. I moved into my home in January, so my home insurance starts. Uh, Sorry, moved into my house on a February, so my home insurance will start on the 20th of Feb each year. I think, when did I get my car? It was about 2 or 3 months ago, so it was October, November, maybe last year. So I don't know whether that falls within the peak times, or when you can get a decent price for your insurance. But it's different for everybody. You don't plan to buy your car in August, do you?
No,
Buy it when you need it. So, and I didn't think about its insurance going to be more expensive in November compared to grabbing a car in February.
well, there is another very important thing that you need to consider. That when you're actually filling out your details on price comparison sites, there is a section on bankruptcy and uh, sorry, county court judgments. Now, most people don't go bankrupt. Most people don't apply for bankruptcy because in one way, for some people it can be helpful, and in others it can have a lot of problems attached to it. So if you do get into trouble, like you've been out of work, you've got a lot of debts, like a lot of us had, especially after 2000. There was 2006, and there was 2008 crash, depending on which region you're in the country. And now the situation that we're in now, people um, can accumulate CCJs. Now, there's a question that will come up. You're most likely to tick bankruptcy as no, but then it will ask one of two questions about CCJs. One, have you had a CCJ in the last 5 years? Or have you ever had a CCJ? Now, the interesting thing is that the price comparison sites can ask you, have you had a CCJ in the past 3 or 4 years? But then when you actually speak to um, the insurer, they might ask you, have you ever had? And that's the trap that you get stuck in, because once you've said yes, they say, oh, we just need to keep it for our records, but it won't really affect the price of your premium. Oh, yes, it can. But it's important to know that if you're going to go down the road of not giving that information about a county court judgment, and or the fact that you've been actually refused insurance, like you know, you had no money, you lost your job, like so many people have, you couldn't pay your premium, it can go against you, and it's you have to be clear that if you decide to lie about that and they find out, they can cancel your insurance policy and you lose your premium. You lose your the premiums you've already paid.
I would never recommend you be dishonest or withhold any information. Always be honest, because that gives them the right to invalidate your insurance if you've lied to them.
Well, one
Yeah.
of my sorry, one of my favourites, of course, is this, companies like More Than. That if you have an insurance policy with them and you fail to pay for whatever reason, they will never do business with you again.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, to me, that's very bad business practice. But it has that element of control involved in it. So just be
Well,
careful.
they have the right to pick and choose who they deal with. And if they don't want to deal with you because you're dishonest, then that's a good enough reason in my book.
Oh no, I'm not talking about necessarily in the case of dishonesty. I'm talking about the fact that if you stop paying your premiums and they cancel your policy, you can't have insurance with them again.
Right.
So it's just something that just to be clear on.
Oh, right. Okay. So if you've got a policy with them and you cancel it halfway through.
No, I mean if you stop paying it because you couldn't afford to, yeah,
All right. Okay.
they
Well,
don't
in that
actually
instance,
care. They
best
just
thing.
say you can't do business with us anymore. And the
Yeah, but the
problem is
best
with
thing to do in that instance is get in touch with them and say, look, you're having financial difficulties. Can you help, or can you let me out of this agreement? Because I guess if you're in desperate, dire straits, um, and you think, okay, I can't afford to run my car anymore, that's another issue perhaps. But if you're unable to take the car off the road, you've got nowhere else to park it, and you can't off-road it either, can you, with DVLA?
you can storm.
We can't, because if you live in a flat, you have to park it on the street.
Yes,
Some
that's
people have drives. Well, a few people have, people have drives. It's obviously a lot easier for them. But if I didn't have a drive, had financial difficulties, thought, okay, I can't afford to run the car. I don't want to get rid of it because I might need it at some stage in the future because I'm actively looking for other jobs. Not sawing it because it needs to be parked in the street and you need your road tax, etc. for it. But yeah, it's still worth talking to the insurance provider
I agree.
to see what they can do for you. If you're not going to use it, then perhaps there is a need. Ask them, look, can you put this on hold until you get yourself back on your feet and then you start earning some money and start using your car again? So that might be a possibility.
Just inform them of the situation and then go from
Yeah,
there
yeah,
and see what they
yeah.
do. But the thing that
Don't
you
bury
do,
your head in the
uh,
sand.
but
Talk to them.
also in today's world, something that's just come to mind is that if this situation does happen and your insurance gets cancelled, or you are dishonest in the details that you've given, you're gonna have to remember that insurance companies are conglomerates these days. So
Yeah, they're
just
changing information.
because you're going with one company, they can actually be several companies, because Shears Wheels is actually attached to another company as well, and I just can't quite remember what it is right now. Admiral has an affiliate as well, and the other thing is a lot of these companies are actually underwritten by the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Well, you might. I don't know whether, from a data protection perspective, they're allowed to share information. But I'm thinking if you buy something through a price comparison website, and you've got dozens and dozens of companies, and I'm not going to say made a mistake or you made an omission, or you've put some incorrect details down, or you've lied, and they've discovered it, then I don't know whether they're allowed to share that information with other companies. I
They
think from a
do.
data protection, they have to do that.
No, it's not a case of that. They just will.
Okay, I don't know the ins and outs of that.
Insurance is a law unto itself,
Yeah, it would make
because like
sense that.
with car insurance, because it's underwritten by law that you must actually have car insurance, is the reason why car insurance is so expensive. If you want a car, you're going to pay for it. Simple as that. So
All right. Well, it's been an interesting one.
yeah, a rather contentious subject, to be honest, and I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think, I use them all the time, so I'm a bit biased. I'm about to get on price comparison websites this weekend and get a new home insurance quote.
Yeah, I mean, I've recently just had a look through myself. In the end, I actually felt I actually got a cheaper deal from them, and well, it wasn't cheaper. It actually worked out £1.50 a month more. And since the fact I was happy with them, I couldn't be bothered to check any more on any more price comparison sites. I mean,
It
I
is
did one
soul
search.
destroying putting in your name, your address, your date of birth, additional driver details, how many
Uh,
points, what kind of where
yeah,
you're going to park it in the evening, what you use it for. And there's pages and pages of it.
and each one of those questions is designed to trip you up in some way, because there are multiple points of reference they use to um, determine how much they're going to charge you for your premium, postcode, kind of house you live in,
Oh yeah,
driveway, where do you park during the day? Is your car garaged? Is it parked on the street? What's your profession? How much do you earn? Because it's always been known that if you work as an office worker or you work in a factory, your insurance premium is going to be higher than the bloke who's a doctor, because apparently he's considered to be more intelligent and a less of a risk. Actually, that's been found to be not the case. Surgeons can be awful drivers, and they can get caught for speeding and drink driving quite a lot, actually. I mean, there are that obviously. That's just not going down. That's not to say that every doctor out there is wild and dangerous.
I
It's just that
think
there's
it's general proportion of the population. Obviously, there's less surgeons around and doctors around, so they're more likely to not break the rules. I suppose the great
the statistic
underclass.
doesn't match the reality necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's another subject entirely.
It
All
is.
right.
It is. Well, good talk today then. But
Awesome.
yeah, we're going to come back with a little bit more elaboration on the mortgages, I think, because we only covered a little part of it that we actually touched into there. But yeah, talk again.
See you later.
See you later. Bye bye.